Well, thank you everyone. Michael Kane, Acting National Secretary of the Transport Workers Union. The TWU and Unions of New South Wales are here today to support a very brave young Australian, Josh Klooger, who today is standing up for the rights of all Australian workers. Josh's bravery cannot be overstated. He's standing up against Foodora, who unfairly sacked him for raising issues and rights questions that every Australian would expect to be observed in our community. Rights like the right to a fair day's pay for every hour worked. Rights that when you're injured, you should have workers' compensation. Rights that when you're sick, you should be able to have leave. Rights to annual leave. Rights to dignity in retirement through superannuation. These are rights that companies like Foodora are trashing. And they're trashing it by gaming the system, and the Australian community should be shocked about that. This is not some shiny new economy. This is old-fashioned exploitation, 1800s style. This time by sandshoe-wearing billionaires via an app. And it has to stop. The Australian community should be shocked also because Foodora knows exactly what it is doing. The TWU will today lead evidence that shows that Foodora knows that it is gaming the system, that these arrangements are a sham and that they're put in place to rip rights off Australian workers. We do this all in the knowledge that the Australian government does not have the political will to act. This is a system that's broken, that needs to be fixed. Josh is here to stand up for the rights of all Australian workers, and we're here to support him. Josh, say a few words.
Thank you, Michael. I first joined Foodora 2 years ago in beginning of March 2016. I thought I'd found the dream job, getting paid to ride a bike. At the time, it was pretty good. I was getting 14 an hour, 5 per delivery, and there was word of getting riders compensation if we were injured on the job. But I soon found out when other riders were injured that they didn't have that. And then over time, just the wages for new drivers joining just reduced to 13 an hour, 3 per delivery. And then in October 2016, it dropped down to just $10 an order, 0 per hour. And then throughout 2017, it dropped even further to 9 and then to 8. And then beginning of this year in February, it dropped to 7. And just over time, I saw that they weren't caring about drivers who were out there doing all the hard work and doing the dangerous job of riding on the roads. And it just seemed like we needed more rights as drivers. We weren't getting super, we weren't getting sick leave. And just something needed to change. So I decided to speak up about it, and I've lost my job about speaking up about it. And it's about time something changed, where the government stepped in and made some rules so these companies can abide by workplace practices.
Josh, there have been other people in similar situations to you, but they've settled. Why have you decided not to go down that route and to fight on with this case?
I'm willing to fight on because I don't really find the need to settle. I want change to happen, and the more you fight, the more likely changes to happen. Yeah.
This is a fight that is being taken up right across the union movement. We've got support from the peak bodies, from the ACTU and from Unions New South Wales. Thomas Costa's here from Unions New South Wales to say a few words.
Good morning, Thomas Costa, Assistant Secretary, Unions New South Wales. Foodora thinks because it operates on the internet that it doesn't have to play by the rules. This is a company that doesn't provide sick leave, it doesn't provide annual leave, it doesn't provide long service leave, it doesn't even pay minimum wage. There's nothing modern or innovative about exploiting workers. Josh's only fault was that he worked for a company that doesn't respect its workers. And when he spoke up about it, and he spoke up for himself and for his colleagues and for their rights, he was first threatened by Foodora, and then his employment was terminated. That's unacceptable. That's why we're here today supporting Josh and supporting the Transport Workers Union in trying to get Josh reinstated back into his work. And not only that, but to also support all of the workers who are riding in our cities, on our streets, in what is an extremely dangerous job and doesn't pay even minimum wage and doesn't deliver the same kinds of conditions that other workers expect in their workplaces.
How rife is this though? We're not just talking about Foodora, we're talking about lots of companies that are exploiting, and you're making an example this way.
Certainly, we know that this isn't just Foodora. There are a number of gig economy companies that are doing this, and that's why wherever we find out that this is happening, we're going to be there and trying to help those workers.
You said Josh wants to be reinstalled in the job, is that right, Josh? Or you walking away from Foodora?
It'd be nice to get a
Sorry.
It would be nice to have a job focused on riding a bike again and getting paid what I was getting paid before, but at the current state of the industry, I would not want to join for $7 an order.
Would you go back to Foodora? Is that what you want out of this?
If the conditions had improved back to what it was, then yeah, that would be great. It was back in early 2016. The conditions that I was working in were amazing, and it'd be nice if every single rider had those same conditions that I had.
So threats were mentioned there. What were the threats that were?
The threats were that I was to hand over ownership of the chat groups so they could have full admin rights, because at the time I could kick Foodora out and give all the riders the freedom to speak openly, whereas I think like most of them were not speaking up about it because they were worried that Foodora might do something to them if they did say something negative.
Josh, you've been speaking to other young people probably in similar situations. What have they been saying about this action that you're taking?
They all seem to support me. Like, they want their working conditions to improve as much as I do, and a lot of them probably can't or don't want to speak up, and I'm happy to speak for them. Yeah.
Craig Laundy has said that this will get sorted out through the common law process, process of evolution. But do you think you need a statute to regulate the gig economy?
Well, all Australian workers deserve rights. I think that everyone in the community would be absolutely shocked to know that we have riders, Australian workers out there who are literally standing on the side of the road being unpaid, waiting for work as if it was the era of the Hungry Mile via an app. That's not something that current law can fix. In fact, what's happening is that companies are gaming the system, and what we need are changes to the laws to make sure that all Australian workers have rights. And Craig Laundy is now infamous for the type of comments he's made against workers' rights. What Josh is doing today is taking up a fight in the bravest way possible for all Australian workers.
The Victorian government's announced that it's going to introduce some new protections for riders. Is that a welcome step?
It is absolutely a welcome step. What the Victorian government has announced today is an acknowledgement that things have to change, that companies are gaming the system. It's incremental change, but it's important change, and they should be congratulated. The federal government should take that lead and move forward, push away this unwillingness to act, and acknowledge that workers' rights are being trashed by companies like Foodora. It's time for the federal government to act.
Hey Josh, what was your period of employment with Foodora? You might have said that.
So I joined the end of February 2016, and I worked up until the 2nd of March 2018.
And you were riding where?
I was riding in Melbourne, around the inner suburbs, CBD, South Yarra area. Yeah, all over. Like I didn't mind where I rode, how far the distances were, what the conditions were on the road, whether it was raining or windy. I was just happy to be out there earning a wage, riding a bike.